Hey guys, this is Mike Jones and we got another NR2003 tutorial for you. Today we're going to go over the track INI file, the whole entire thing, so we can get some explaining through it. So to get to that file, and what it is, it's being able to hack the game to change the way the AI is, or all different things really. You can change the pace, speed, all sorts of things. You want to go to your shortcut, open file location. If you don't have a shortcut, you should know where your file is. It's on a track, so you can pick any track you want to do. I'll just, for the test, we'll do Daytona. You want to make sure you have a copy. So if you don't have a copy, copy the original track and paste it so that you do have a copy. Just in case you screw up the track, you can go back, and all you got to do to get your copy back is just to delete all that, so that it's named track again. Alright, but it won't work unless it's named track, so as long as it says copy or copy to or anything after track, it'll be fine just sitting there. So in your track folder, let's go over this. So the track name, Daytona, this is pretty easy stuff. All this stuff's for naming, and a lot of this is for people building tracks. Obviously number of turns, track length. None of this stuff matters until you get to track type. So the track type goes from 0 to 5. So 0 would be short ovals, 1 would be any ovals around 1 mile, 2 would be a medium oval, which is anywhere from probably 1.3 to 1.7 miles. All your mile and a halves are medium ovals. 3 are long ovals, so I'd say 2 miles or bigger. And then 4 would be super speedways, so any ovals that need restrictor plates. So Talladega, Daytona. So that's why this is a 4. And then 5 would be road courses. So I believe what the track type does is calculates how they're going to drive based on their ratings. So every AI driver has their own rating for whatever specific track. So I think 0 and 1 would have to do with the short track rating, and I think 2 and 3 would have to do with the speedway rating. 4 would be the super speedway rating, and 5 would be the road course rating. Then you go down to chassis type. This goes from 1 to 5. 1 being super speedway, that is why it's a 1. 2 would be a speedway, so like Atlanta or a mile and a half track, anything that is not a super speedway, basically. So this is what type of car they bring to the track. So if you want them to race as if they were on a super speedway but they're not, you can change it to a 1, and they'll most likely have about the package they got right now in the Cup Series, where they're a lot closer together, would be my guess. I haven't actually tested that yet. 3 would be short track, so if you want them to bring a short track car to the track, then that will be how that is. 4 would be road course, so if you want them to drive it like as if they would on a road course, then there you go. I think that would just make it so that it's easier for them to turn right instead of just turning left or something like that. 5 would be a super speedway with no plates. So if I change this, if I change this to a 5 right now, they would race Daytona like normal, but without a restrictor plate. So it'd be the exact same chassis with no restrictor plate. They'd probably go another 20 miles per hour faster, which is just crazy nonsense. Alright, default event laps. So this number is when you go into the game and you put 100% laps on a single race, or yeah, basically single race is like the only thing it will count as. 200 would be the 100. So if you want the default laps to be 1,000, you can change it to 1,000. Then when you're at 100%, it'll be 1,000. And you can change it down to 5. You can put this number wherever you want, I believe, unless there is a cap. I think it's like a very high thousands, but no one's gonna actually go 2,000 laps or whatever around this track. So the cap is somewhere around there, but I'm not sure where. I've not tried to put it at 0 before. I don't think that will work, but maybe you guys could try it if you want. Default qualifying laps. So this could go anywhere from 1 to however many laps you want to qualify. So basically every track is 2 by default, but you can change that. If you want to do 4 laps of qualifying, change it to a 4. Boom, now it's 4 laps. But I'm okay with 2. Just in case you screw up once, you got another chance. But remember that the higher number this is, it gives you a better chance, but it also gives the AI a better chance. So that's going to change up the way they qualify too. They will get better and better as the laps go on, usually. Track base month. So what this is 1 to 12 based on the months of the year. So if you're doing a practice session, a test session, or a single race, then it will be based off this month if you put realistic weather, I believe. So 2 would be February. Oh, there we go. Single, multi, and test. Boom. It tells you right there on the side. Sweet. And if you wanted it to be colder, you could put 12 for December. If you wanted it to be really hot, you could put, I don't know, 6 for, what is that, June? So yeah. Max starters, 43. So the highest number you can go up is 243. If you put it above 43, you're still only going to get 43. They put a cap on it. But you can bring that lower if you want the max starters to be lower, if you were doing like heat races or something. And it would make it a lot easier than instead of going back and picking the cars you want in the race or whatever. So yeah, you could change that lower, but 43 is the max. So yeah. Track tire heat. This modifies the amount of heat given into the track, just like what it says. A lot of it is self-explanatory. And basically, you want more heat going into the track, you go up. You want less heat going into the track, you go down. Do not move that too much, or else you will blow your tires instantly if you go too high on this. So about anywhere from 0.095 to like 1.05 would probably be the best to move it around if you want the tires to heat up a little bit more or less. And it's also going to loosen up the car and stuff. Track tire wear. So that's 1 would be normal amount of wear, like it says right here. 2 would be so this will affect you and the AI. So what this means is the higher you have this number, the faster your tires are going to wear. This is at 1 times if you change it to 1 times on the thing. So if you change this to 4 times the tire wear, it's actually 4.8 something or 4.9 something. So that's pretty crazy. But yeah, if you want tires to wear out really fast, you just put it up. If you want tires to not wear out very fast, bring it down. Pretty easy. Tire wear loss. This is the amount of grip lost at full tire wear. So if you put that higher up, you lose even more grip. I would not recommend putting that very high at all. If you put it above the actual grip, your car will not have any grip at all and it won't move. So yeah. So more would make it to where tires are very more important, and lower it will make it so your tires won't lose as much grip at full wear. Tire wear EXP. So this is give bigger fall off in a late run. Okay, sorry, I forgot what this was. So if you bring it up, your fall off, so your tire wear, is going to happen later off in the run. If you bring it down, it will be earlier in the run. So if you brought this to a 0.05, your tires are going to wear. They're going to feel like they're wore out a lot faster than they actually are. And if you bring it higher, like this one, then it's going to take a lot longer for your tires to feel worn out. Track asphalt grip. This says don't move it between 0.05. I've tested this one out a lot. I would say don't go above 3 if you can even get it to go 3. If you go up to 3, your cars, or higher than 3, your cars are going to start hopping. The AI will start hopping for no reason. I don't know, it's a bug in the game or something. Doesn't make any sense to me, but self-explanatory. Asphalt and concrete. I'm not sure if there's any concrete. I guess the pit road is concrete on Daytona, but most of the track is all asphalt, so that would mostly be this one. So if you wanted more grip, which would make them go faster, then you would put that up, and if you would want, that would be including you and the AI. And if you wanted it less grip, you'd go down. Pretty easy. So this would be good if you're having trouble with the setup or something and you can't get the car to turn. More grip should be able to help you go faster in the corners, but not really going to matter on Daytona. Track north angle, the angle of true north in degrees. This doesn't really matter unless you're like super into setting up a car. And even that, I still don't think it would matter. But yeah, this is mostly for track building. Starter decision. Alright. So this and this, I don't remember if this is feet or meters, but this is, so if the leader is AI, they have between this point and this point on the track to give the green flag. So I've actually never messed with this because it's pretty good how it is. If you wanted it to be exactly 1 point, you could just put 1 point twice or whatever, and then they will always go at the exact part. So like if you had a starter cone or something, I don't know, that would be it. Or if you wanted to open it up a little bit, you could, but I have never tried that. So yeah, mostly for track builders once again. Enforces checkpoints. Alright, so what this is all this stuff is just checkpoints for not cutting the corner when you're qualifying. This doesn't really matter unless you're actually going to cut a corner during qualifying, which it's only on single race or whatever. So if you want to cut the corner, go ahead and do it. It doesn't matter to me. Cup record time, record holder. So this just shows you the record time, and the holder of it doesn't do anything at all. I don't know why it is there. Weather. So this is if you have the weather on realistic. This is how the weather is going to act. So the base temperature base temperature on April 1st. So since it's in February, the base temperature will actually be a little lower. That's interesting. So yeah, I guess it's still based off the time of month too. So that's cool. It's realistic and based off the time of month. Track temp range. That's how much of a difference it can move up or down, I believe. The swing is how often it would move up or down, I believe. So I think if you go up on that, a higher number, then it will swing a lot more, like it basically says, and vice versa if you go down. Wind speed. That's the speed in mile per hour that it will go on the base. And the range is 5, so basically you're able to go 5 up or 5 down from 8.1. And track wind direction. That's most likely what direction it's going to go. So I guess it would affect it if you had your north angle here. Then the wind direction is most likely here, which I'm not quite sure what that is, but yeah, you can mess with that if you knew about compasses and stuff, and you wanted to change the direction the wind went. It might help something, I don't know. Track cloud probability. So this is a probability of cloud cover, which will add grip. So if you have this at, so this is a percentage of a chance. So if you had this at 1, you would always have cloud cover. If you had it at 0, you would never have cloud cover. 0.65 means you have a 65% of clouds. I gotta sneeze. Oh, sorry about that. Alright, you would have a 65% chance of clouds, which would mean that clouds would make it have more grip on the track. I believe that's about it. It's, lower temperatures. So yeah, you can mess with that if you want. This doesn't matter. This has to do with the sound built into the game, so it doesn't really matter unless you're building a track. This is the beefy stuff we've been waiting for. Alright, we can skip this. Pace speed limit. Pace speed limit, there you go. So the speed limit is 70 miles per hour. This is the pace speed, so this is how fast the pace car goes. If you wanted the pace car to go super slow, you can change that to whatever you want. And if you wanted it to go super fast, it would go whatever you want. I have not seen a cap to this, and the pace car is like gonna go up to exactly what it says. So if you put it at, I don't know, 300, the pace car is gonna go 300. But obviously the AI cars aren't gonna be able to go that fast, so the pace car is gonna leave them in the dust. Excel modifier. So this is exactly what it says. Your grip efficiency for the AI. This is all AI stuff now. So if the AI is taking off too fast, you would bring that down, and if it's not taking off as fast, you bring it up. So really, you wouldn't really mess with it unless you got really into the game. If the cars are hitting you in the back, this is on simulation mode, by the way, is the best time to move it. I wouldn't move it for arcade mode. So if they're hitting you in the back coming out of the corner, you would want to bring that down. And if you're hitting them coming out of the corner, you'd want to bring it up. AI Decel modifier. But before you do that, I would mess with the actual difficulty setting in the game first, because that's a lot easier than trying to get this where you want it. Decel modifier is how good they slow down going into the corner. So if they're hitting you going into the corner, you need to bring that down, I believe, actually. So they will have to let off the gas earlier. And it's basically how efficient their brakes are. So if you have that number really high, they will go darting into the corner, and their brakes will work, and they'll be able to, it just makes them go into the corner a lot faster the higher number you have that up. And the lower number, the slower they go into the corner, because their brakes aren't as efficient. Fuel use. AI fuel use. Exactly what it says, the amount of fuel you use. If you go up, I would not recommend very high, then you will use, or the AI will use a lot more gas. If you go down, they will use less gas. I'm not sure if there's a way to do this for the player, so I would always keep it pretty close to where it's at. Unless you're running out of gas and they're not or something, you can change it. AI grip modifier, that's basically the amount of grip they have overall, so not just these, but overall the entire track. So the higher, the more grip they have, the faster they're going to be. The faster they'll be able to go in the corners is the main thing. So this is basically going to help their corner speed the most. So lower would be a lower corner speed, higher would be a higher corner speed. And acceleration and deceleration speeds. Drag modifier is their top speed. So if their top speed is way faster than yours, you can bring this up, and more drag would slow them down. So to increase their top speed, you would go down on this, and to make their top speed less, you'd go up on it. AI modifier, I went over this the last video. It says dangerous hack, don't use it unless you're a trained professional. Well, I'm not a trained professional, I mess with it. This is a really fun one to mess with. So this is how hard they push going in the corner. 1 would be normal. So I always like to base it off of 100% difficulty, because if you go up to 110, because everybody likes to go there to watch the crashes, then there are a lot of tracks they're going to hit the wall coming out of the corner. So you might need to drop this down when you're doing 110% races just to watch. But if you're actually racing yourself, you can actually bring this up if they're not getting close enough to the wall, and it will actually increase passing. The higher this is up, the more passes will happen, but it will also make the cars a little faster because they'll be pushing in the corner faster. But when their tires do get worn out, they will hit the wall later on in the run, most likely. So yeah, to mess with it a little bit. If you wanted to make every track a 1-lane bottom line only, you would bring this down to 0.9 would probably be good enough, even lower. And there will only be 1 line, and the only way to pass would be to bump people out of their way or something. So that'd be kind of cool to try out. Qualifying modifier, this is how much faster they are during qualifying. So if you're out qualifying them, you would want to bring this up so that they can qualify better. And if they're out qualifying you, you can bring this down. If you want to use the same setup and you want them to use the same setup as the race, you could just put that at 100 and you wouldn't have to worry about any differences. And wall offset, this is a really good one. So this is your collision checking. So I think it's basically 100 even when you go down to like 20. It seems like it's almost 100. When cars touch each other, they will actually morph a little bit if you go down. If you put this at 0, there will be no collisions, and it will be like ghost racing. That would actually be a cool thing to have, just as a test. But yeah, I haven't tested that yet, but I'm pretty sure that's what it does. And if you go down, the more the cars actually have to have contact before it actually detects it. So at 100, a little bump in the back, it's going to detect it every time. But if you have a little bump in the back at 50, it's only going to check it, or it's only going to detect it about half the time. So it's going to allow you to race closer, the AI closer, without crashing the lower you have it. But if you went too low, the lowest I've put it at is 20, I believe, and you don't really notice it. It's really good for super speedways if you want bump drafting. but I haven't tried lower than that. Maybe 10 would be even better. I haven't tried it yet, but that's what that does, is detect the collision. I'm not sure if you bring it over 100, if that will make them actually detect colliding before they hit each other, but that's something you can test and try out, and maybe let me know in the comments if that's what that does. AI tire wear left and right, that's how much the tires wear left and right. You bring it up, more tire wear on that side. Bring it down, less tire wear on that side. AI arcade tire wear. So if you're doing arcade only, I would leave all those alone. I used to mess with these, but don't, because then it will screw up your simulation too. So if you're doing arcade mode, I would only move these arcade stuff. And everything below it you can too, obviously. But if you want to do the tire wear, don't even mess with tire wear. If you want tire wear to happen, only do simulation, because your tire wear on arcade mode is always going to be this low, 0.01, where it's just barely any tire wear. And if you actually give the AI tire wear, then you're just going to be flying past them, and they're going to have to pit for tires and stuff. Arcade fuel use, that you can actually mess with because it actually happens. So if you wanted fuel to be used more during arcade or less, then you can change that. That's based on AI only though, so will only affect the AI cars. AI grip modifier, same thing as the other. This is the grip, so acceleration, deceleration, and corner speed mostly. So if you wanted them to be, well, it wouldn't really affect it at Daytona, I don't think, because you're going full throttle anyways, but that's probably why it's at 1. But if you're at like a short track, if you brought this up, they would go faster in going into the corner, during the corner, and coming out of the corner. And if you brought it down, it would slow them down. So just to help them stay with you. AI drag modifier, still the top speed, but this is for arcade. So that's why I wouldn't mess with this, especially these two, unless you're in arcade. But even these I wouldn't mess with unless you're, if you're in arcade, unless you're doing simulation, if that makes any sense. I don't know. Strategy time, I wouldn't really mess with these because I haven't yet, but what it says, it's basically what it is. So that's how much time they lose. I actually want to try this out, so maybe I'll make a video on just testing random stuff. Hopefully, if you guys want to see something like that, let me know in the comments below right now, and hopefully we can do that. This video is going to be long, it seems. We're almost done, actually. Most of the stuff you don't have to do after that. So anyway, I believe if you bring whatever number this is, that's how much lap time they lose on worn tires, like it says. And this is how much they gain on loss of fuel, because when you lose fuel, you will get less weight, so your car will go faster. So it actually goes faster and slower at the same time. But anyway, I have messed with this once, now that I remember. I have tried to put a negative number once. And I'm like, okay, if your tire wears, the AI cars are going to get faster. This is only for AI. And it actually worked. I believe it did, at least. The AI cars got faster and faster as their tires worn, until they got so fast they were just riding the wall because they couldn't stay down. So it actually is not very good to do that. Or if you wanted other stuff, you can always mess with these to see what they do. Pitting cost. This is about how long it takes for them to do, or the time they lose doing a stop and go pit stop. So I'm not sure how they got that number exactly down to that point, because yeah, I would never mess with that. I guess if you want their stop and go pit stops to be longer, you'd bring it up, and if their pit stops are too fast, you'd bring it down. But you got an actual thing in the ratings you can mess with too, so I wouldn't mess with that. Pacing distance. This is the number of car lengths cars are behind each other while they're pacing. So this is anything before 1 lap till green. So if you're just under caution and you have more than 1 lap till green, this is how far they'll be behind each other. So in that case, you brought it up, they'll pace farther away, which could help on the bigger tracks if you wanted a bigger pacing distance, just to make sure they don't run into each other. But normally, I think it's 2 on every track, actually. Bunching distance, this could make it really fun for starts, but could cause more wrecks. If you brought the bunching distance down, it's going to make the restarts way more crazy, and people going 4 wide a lot more often and stuff because they'll be a lot closer. Obviously, if you put that, actually, I have seen people put this to .05 before, and you have 4 wide starts. That's kind of cool, but it doesn't look very good because it's not perfect. So you got, yeah, it's just not perfect. But if you wanted 4 wide starts, you could put that to .0 or 0.5. And if they're bunching too close and they're going 4 wide or whatever, and you don't want them to go 4 wide after a start, you could bring that up. If they're crashing too much right after the start, you can bring that up. Drafting distance, that's how fast they draft. Remember, we went over this the last video. That's their number of car length they are behind each other when they're drafting. So I would not ever go over 1.55 because it would make it to where the AI cars don't pass at all. Drafting distance is going to make them pass a lot more the lower it is, but it's also going to cause more crashes. So if you wanted bump drafting, 1.07 would be the lowest I would go to. Unless you want crashes to happen, then you can go wherever your heart desires. If you go under 1, they're just going to be slamming the back of the car in front of them. But they will end up turning the car in front of them and causing wrecks constantly, it seems like. Maybe if you mess with that and the wall offset, you could get it to bump draft super good. Haven't tested that enough yet, so I'm not sure. Panic Decel. So this is a good number to mess with because of how stupid they are. Some AI are sometimes. It makes it unrealistic, though, because if you bring that number up, then they won't run into cars as often in a crash, especially at super speedways. They're not very good at dodging wrecks for some reason. So that's how good they are at slamming on the brakes. That's how effective their brakes are when they're slamming on the brakes to dodge a wreck without flat spotting their tires, though. I don't think it will affect their tires. So if you mess with that and a wreck happens in front of you, you use up your tires missing the wreck, and they're gonna miss the wreck and not use the tires. So I would leave that alone unless you were just watching races and there's a lot of crashes going on and you wanted them not to crash as much. Or if you wanted people just to barrel into the crash, put that at 0. And when a car thinks it's slamming on the brakes and ain't doing anything and it just barrels into the crash and people are flipping like crazy and all that good stuff, you can mess with that too. This stuff is a lot harder for me because I can't really remember. I used to know what this was. I guess I'm going to have to get back to it on that. The longitude scale and then the latitude pad. Scales, padding, and braking zones. Smaller equals more scaling. I'm not sure what that meant. I used to know. I can't remember now. And these two we're going to have to go over some other time. Or if you guys know in the comments, please let me know below right now. That would be amazing. Squeeze percentage. If cars are too close side by side, I believe that's what the squeeze percentage is, side by side, bring it up. Some tracks they have it at 1, some tracks they have it at 0, like Daytona. You have it at 0, they will drive really close side by side without touching each other. And if you have it up, they'll drive farther apart without wrecking or without hitting each other. So if they're crashing too much but you want them to bump draft or something, you can bring that up. But I'm pretty sure if you bring that too high and they try to go 3 wide, the top lane will hit the wall, so I wouldn't go above 1. I've also put this on a negative number before. I've tried like -1 or something, and coming out of the corner, they literally go towards each other and try to slam each other side by side. That's kind of cool. If you want random weird wrecks, you could put it at 0 or -0.01, and sometimes have a bigger chance of wrecking if they're not doing it enough. And you don't want it to come from the back, because all wrecks seem like they come from the back. If you want some wrecks from the side, you can try to make this a small negative number, but I wouldn't go too high. Inverse split curve. The angle it needs to do it. So the higher number, that was terrible. The higher number, the slower they are going into the corner because they need to slow down to make the corner. The lower the number is, oh no, my bad. The higher the number, the faster they are going into the corner. Because that's the angle they need. The lower the number, the slower they are going in the corner. But if you mess with this, sometimes they lose control. I've seen, especially on dirt tracks, this is the hardest thing to get right on dirt tracks because if you don't have it perfect, a lot of cards will just lose control. So it's something just to mess with and learn. If basically their corner speed, I guess, is what it is. If they're, if you want to change this could be for. I would just mess with the grip instead. I wouldn't even mess with this, but that's straight up corner speed only. I guess the grip would be acceleration, deceleration, and corner speed. So yeah, if you're gonna mess with corner speed, do this. Lower will make the AI's corner speed less. Higher will make their corner speed faster. I don't believe if you go above 1 it would do anything, but I don't remember if I've ever tried that. This all has to do with building tracks, and I don't know much about all this stuff, so let's go down to, this stuff doesn't really matter unless you're building a track, but this is if your pit lane's on the right, you'll change that to a 1, and if your pit lane has a wall, you'll change it to 1. Daytona doesn't have, or its pits are on the left, and it doesn't have a wall, so yeah. Speed limit, this is your pit speed limit. Haven't tested this enough actually, but I'm pretty sure the AI cars go crazy if you go really fast in the pits, and I'm not sure if they actually make it. If you want crashes in the pits, go ahead and raise it. If you want people to lose time in the pits, so you want pit stops to actually hurt a lot more, you can bring it down. I've never tried 0. I don't think that gets rid of it. I think that would just make it to where you're not allowed to move in the pits, so I haven't tried that yet, but yeah, I guess you can go ahead and mess with that and try it out and get back to me on that. I don't think anything else really matters. This is all has to do with where the stalls are, but this is all building tracks. Just if you don't know how to build tracks, I wouldn't mess with it. This has to do with what the spotter sound is, so when the spotter says there's a wreck on the back stretch, these points are the back stretch. This is turn 1, this is turn 2. So if you wanted them to say turn 2 when it's really not turn 2, I guess you can mess with those. Anyway, guys, I hope this video helped you out. I guess we can go over some stuff in an actual video just to test it out. If you'd like that, let me know in the comments below. Hopefully you learned a lot of stuff. And if you have any other suggestions for any other videos, let me know in the comments below. Subscribe for more tutorials and more Nr2003, like everything, because this game is the best game ever. If you agree, you better hit the like button right now. And we'll see you guys next time.